In the vast landscapes of Australia, beneath the serene beauty and tranquil surroundings, lie stories that send shivers down the spine. When it comes to shocking, violent crimes, most Australians immediately think of infamous killers from overseas, from Jeffrey Dahmer to Jack the Ripper. But there have been plenty of notorious cases right here at home. These crimes are not just footnotes in history, but grim reminders of the darkness that can lurk within humanity. Join me as we delve into the chilling tales of the top 10 most shocking Australian criminal cases. These stories are not for the faint-hearted, as they reveal the horrors committed by individuals who once walked among us. From cold-blooded serial killers to ruthless gangs, Australia's criminal history is as dark as it is fascinating. Here are 10 horrifying crimes committed down under. Each story, a chapter in a grim anthology, highlights the depths of human depravity and the resilience of those who survived. Peter Dupas' name still provokes a shudder down the spine of Melburnians who remember his disgusting crimes. Dupas had a long history of sadism, beginning at the age of 15 when he attacked his neighbour with a knife. What began as a disturbing incident escalated into a series of violent sexual assaults and murders that terrorised the community. Before receiving multiple life sentences, Dupas committed several heinous crimes against women throughout the 1990s. Dupas' criminal signature, removing the breasts of his female victims, was a macabre testament to his depravity. Senior Detective Ian Armstrong, who had early dealings with a young Dupas, described him as pure evil, completely without remorse for his crimes. This chilling indifference to human life made Dupas one of the most feared criminals in Australia's history. The victims of Dupas' monstrous acts were not just statistics, they were individuals with families and dreams. The impact of his crimes rippled through communities, leaving scars that remain to this day. His capture and conviction brought a semblance of justice, but the memories of his brutality linger on. On 20 May 1999, South Australian police made the grisly discovery of 8 corpses dissolving away in plastic barrels within a disused bank vault in Snowtown. This macabre find was the result of a heartless gang led by John Bunting, and consisting of Snowtown locals Robert Wagner and James Vlasakis. The group's initial disgust for pedophiles morphed into a general hatred of gay men and anyone they deemed unworthy of life. At least 12 people were killed by Bunting and his crew, with many victims suffering several hours of torture before their demise. The sheer brutality of their methods shocked the nation, and the subsequent trials revealed a chilling insight into their twisted minds. The crimes were so infamous that they inspired the feature-length film Snowtown in 2011, which brought the harrowing story to a wider audience. The Snowtown murders were not just a series of killings. They were a systematic campaign of terror orchestrated by individuals who revelled in their cruelty. The community of Snowtown will forever be marked by these events, a dark chapter in its history, that serves as a grim reminder of the evil that can exist in the unlikeliest of places. No other tragedy has had such a transformative impact on Australian public policy than the Port Arthur Massacre. On 28 April 1996, 28-year-old Martin Bryant went on a shooting spree near the Port Arthur historic site in Tasmania, killing 35 people and wounding several others. This senseless act of violence left an indelible mark on the nation's psyche and prompted a radical overhaul of Australia's gun laws. Bryant, who had been disturbed since childhood, became incredibly depressed following the death of his father by suicide in 1993. This deep-seated anguish and rage culminated in the horror of the Port Arthur Massacre. The aftermath saw the introduction of the National Firearms Agreement, which significantly tightened gun control laws and led to the destruction of over 600,000 firearms. The Port Arthur Massacre stands as a stark reminder of the devastating impact one individual can have on a community. The victims, their families, and the survivors continue to grapple with the trauma of that day. Yet, out of this tragedy came a unified resolve to prevent such a catastrophe from happening again, showcasing the resilience and determination of the Australian spirit. Chapter 4. Between 1989 and 1992, 7 backpackers were gruesomely murdered in New South Wales' Belanglo State Forest. They were the victims of a demented career criminal named Ivan Milat, who stalked, tortured and killed the young travellers seemingly for his own perverse pleasure. Milat's monstrous acts turned the once serene forest into a place of nightmares. Milat, who served as the inspiration for the killer Mick Taylor in the horror film Wolf Creek, was a remorseless psychopath who murdered his victims with a pistol and a Bowie knife. His meticulous methods and lack of remorse made him one of Australia's most feared serial killers. In 1996, Milat was finally arrested and convicted, bringing an end to his reign of terror. The discovery of the bodies and the subsequent investigation gripped the nation, with the media closely following every development. Milat's capture provided some closure to the families of the victims, but the scars left by his crimes remain. In 2019, Milat died in prison, never having confessed to his heinous acts, leaving many questions unanswered. Chapter 5. No other Australian crime has attracted more conspiracy theories than the murders connected to South Australian accountant Bevan Spencer von Einem. Between 1979 and 1983, 5 young men aged between 14 and 25 years old were found dead, with indications that they had been tortured. The crimes were linked to a shadowy group of high-profile individuals known as the Family. Police suspect that the Family was a loosely connected group involved in the abduction and sexual assault of teenage boys and young men. The only member of the group to be convicted was von Einem, who was sentenced for the murder of 15-year-old Richard Kelvin in 1984. Despite extensive investigations, the full extent of the family's activities remains shrouded in mystery. The family murders left a lasting impact on the community, with many fearing that justice had not been fully served. The ongoing investigation into other potential members of the group keeps the case alive in the public consciousness, a haunting reminder that some secrets remain buried, waiting to be unearthed. Chapter 6. Whilst Katherine Knight only committed one murder, she shocked the country by bucking the trend of her gender and committing one of the most brutal crimes in Australian history. Knight, known for her love of knives and erratic behaviour, stabbed her partner, John Price, to death following an argument. The sheer brutality of her actions left the nation in disbelief. Utilising her training as an abattoir worker, Knight then skinned Price, put his flayed flesh on a meat hook, and cooked his head with the intention of feeding the grotesque meal to Price's children. This macabre plan was fortunately interrupted by police, who discovered the gruesome scene before Knight could carry out her horrific intentions. Knight's crime stands as a chilling reminder that brutality knows no gender. Her actions shocked the community and led to her being sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. To this day, she remains incarcerated, a figure of infamy whose name is synonymous with one of Australia's most disturbing murders. Chapter 7. Achieving the dubious moniker of Australia's first documented serial killer, William MacDonald is responsible for the deaths of at least 5 men over the years 1961 and 1962, stalking fellow gay men at public beats in Queensland and New South Wales. MacDonald was notorious for the brutality of his murders, often slicing off the genitals of his victims, leading the media to dub him the Mutilator. MacDonald's sophisticated use of a knife led police to initially suspect an accomplished surgeon. His ability to evade capture for so long added to the fear and paranoia among the gay community during that period. MacDonald's reign of terror came to an end in 1963 when he was finally apprehended and convicted of his heinous crimes. MacDonald's story is a dark chapter in Australia's history, highlighting the dangers faced by marginalised communities. His capture brought some relief, but the fear he instilled in his victims and their communities lingered for years. MacDonald died in prison in 2015, his name forever etched in infamy. Media keywords: William MacDonald's mugshots, crime scene photos, interviews with investigators, historical footage. Chapter 8. The Moorehouse Murders. You can't get a more twisted love story than that of David and Catherine Burney, a Perth-based couple who satisfied their sexual sadism through the murder of at least 4 women. The Burneys abducted the women, mostly hitchhikers, taking them to their now infamous home at 3 Moorhouse Street and spending days torturing and sexually assaulting their victims before burying their bodies in a local forest. The killer couple's reign of terror came to an end when one of their victims, 17-year-old Kate Moyer, managed to escape and alert police. Her bravery led to the arrest and conviction of the Bernies, bringing a semblance of justice to their victims and their families. David Burney died in prison in 2005, while Katherine Burney remains incarcerated, serving out multiple life sentences. The Moorhouse murders are a chilling reminder of the depths of human depravity and the power of survival. Kate Moyer's escape and subsequent testimony were instrumental in ending the Bernies' reign of terror, but the scars left by their crimes continue to haunt the community. Chapter 9. Toxic Tea Lady. Caroline Grills seemed like such a sweet middle-aged lady before it was discovered that she liked to poison her house guests with rat poison in the late 1940s. Grills murdered 4 of her family members, including her stepmother, sister-in-law, and 2 distant relatives by marriage, by slipping thallium, a poison readily available over the counter in New South Wales at the time, into various sweets and teas. Her motive seemed to be largely inheritance money. Knocking off the relative she knew named her in their will. Grill's calm and unassuming demeanour masked a calculating mind that was willing to kill for financial gain. Her actions shocked the community and led to her being dubbed the Toxic Tea Lady. Grills was convicted of the murders in 1953 and died in prison in 1960. Her story serves as a grim reminder that evil can come in the most unexpected forms, hiding behind a facade of normalcy and charm. Chapter 10. The Granny Killer. There's nothing more disgusting than preying on the most vulnerable in our community, and that's exactly what John Wayne Glover did when he murdered 6 elderly women over a period of 14 months from 1989 to 1990. Glover's apparent motive was a deep-seated disgust of older women, stemming from his troubled relationship with his mother and stepmother. Glover would often beat his victims repeatedly over the head with a hammer before stealing whatever money or goods they had. His callous disregard for human life and his choice of victims made him one of the most reviled criminals in Australian history. Glover was eventually arrested following the murder of his de facto partner, Joan Sinclair, while under police surveillance. The Granny Killer's reign of terror highlighted the vulnerability of the elderly and the need for greater protection for our senior citizens. Glover died in prison in 2005, but the fear he instilled in his victims and their families continues to be felt. As we reflect on these harrowing tales, we are reminded that even in the most peaceful places, darkness can lurk. The crimes we've discussed today are a stark reminder of the potential for evil within humanity. These cases have left an indelible mark on Australia's history, shaping public policy and community awareness in profound ways. The resilience of the victims and their families is a testament to the strength of the human spirit. While justice has been served in many of these cases, the scars remain. It's crucial that we continue to learn from these dark chapters, ensuring that we remain vigilant and proactive in protecting our communities. These cases remind us that even in the most peaceful places, darkness can lurk. Stay safe and vigilant. Thank you for joining me on this journey into Australia's most shocking criminal cases. Until next time, take care and be aware.